Means of interpretation superior to Marxism will arise, not because Marxism is incorrect, but because humanity will reach some better understanding. The dialectic will be part of some superior tool. All these people who accept the existence of flying saucers do so without the impulse or the will to develop scientific understanding, but simply because they are obliged to recognize a real event for what it is. J Posadas, Flying Saucers, the Process of Matter and Energy, Science, the Revolutionary and Working Class Struggle, and the Socialist Future of Mankind. 1338. Hail and well-met, adventurers, and welcome to Marxist Theories and Lore. This week we delve into the strange history of J Posadas, the source of the strangest canon in the history of shop floors and supervisors, Fourth International. Before we can delve into this strange tale of J Posadas, it's important to establish the campaign setting onto which these events unfold. After the success of the Russian Revolution of 1287, an international wave of revolution destined to overthrow the old bonds of capitalism had been assumed, but no such revolutionary wave began. The Great Imperialist War had broken shop floors and supervisors' Second International. The only thing the Soviets could do was create a new version of Marxism to spread to the workers of the world. This edition was known as the Communist International, or Comintern. In the early days of the Russian Revolution, Marxador the Sigillite had engineered 20 great generals to spread revolution across all old Terra. When the project was done, however, cowardly anarchist attackers hid these Primarchs across the planet. Eventually, after scourging the entire globe, the eternal comrade of mankind brought them back under his power, but the devious Leonicus Trotskyist had been irrevocably tainted by anarchism and attacked the eternal comrade, leaving him badly injured and pickled in his golden throne, needing to be fed 10,000 kulaks every day just to keep the webway. Wait, no, that's the wrong canon. Give me a sec. Alright. After the Great Imperialist War and Russian Revolution, there were several attempts to restart the Second International, but there were tensions between adherents of different visions of Marxism. After the final death of Lenin, the old Bolshevik adventuring party fell into conflict. The now Arch-Lich Stalin had exiled Trotsky, and he was forced to walk the earth. Trotsky formed a Fourth International in opposition to both capitalism and Stalinism, and this is where J Posadas enters the story. Especially in the early period of Marxism, many worker characters hid their identities from authorities using noms de guerre. Do you think Lenin was on that dude's driver's license? Joltin' Joe? Also no. So J Posadas was a collective pen name by Grupo Cuarto Internacional in the late 1310s, which was a small group trying to be the Argentine wing of the Fourth International. Eventually, the use of the name fell to only one worker, who tirelessly kept it building the Fourth International in Latin America. Worker characters aligned with and organized by Posadas organized shops across the continent. The Fourth International was in a constant state of flux, splitting, unsplitting, desplitting, rebooting, prebooting, etc., etc., etc. Soon, Latin America was peppered with adventuring parties following the Posadist line. To start with, they were fairly normal Trotskyists involved in trade union and guerrilla activity. Guerrillas in Guatemala even took their orthodox Trotskyism so seriously that they funneled money earmarked for the armed struggle into publishing a newspaper. As the 50s waned, Posadas himself developed a theory of nuclear war. He believed that nuclear war between the Soviet Union and United States was inevitable and even desirable. For too long, the colonized nations of the world were trapped in the conflict between these two great powers. If the nuclear-capable socialist states used a preemptive nuclear strike, then the imperialist world system would be severely weakened, and the working class of underdeveloped nations would have an opportunity to begin the Great Revolution. Followers of Posadas were involved in the Cuban Revolution, but grew weird and conspiratorial. They claimed Fidel Castro had Che Guevara killed, and later, when Che Guevara was actually killed in Bolivia, they claimed Castro now had him imprisoned secretly in Cuba? Eventually, they got so annoying they had to be banned. In 1332, Posadas' strange statements had caused enough conflict that he was forced to split from the Fourth International and founded the Fourth International Posadist. Already, many socialist adventuring parties can require a strong commitment to a greater goal. To be a worker character, you have to give much of yourself to the movement. And isolated from the greater movement, the Fourth International Posadist became even stranger and more cult-like. The Fourth International Posadist had aligned adventuring parties across Latin America and several in Europe. All of them came to increasingly revere J Posadas himself. He spread his curious understanding of Marxism via articles and recordings. And yes, this is where we enter the UFO stuff. Posadas was entrenched in the New Age milieu of the time. He accrued all the classic in search of pseudoscience crank stuff. The ufology was just an outgrowth of that. Most importantly, Posadas believed that if there were alien visitors who had technology to reach Earth from so impossibly far away, they must have come from a vastly more advanced society. Necessarily, more advanced society would, by the laws of historical development, need to be socialist. Thus, we should appeal to these space comrades to aid in our struggle to overthrow capitalism. Many have speculated on the similarities between these ideas and the ideological core of Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek. Alongside the necessity in the Star Trek canon of World War III and the post-atomic horror in abolishing the capitalist order, highly developed societies tend toward vegetarian space socialism. This is more attributable to Hodgkin's law of parallel ideological development. Two cranks in the same milieu of crank ideas will develop them in similar directions. Besides, everybody knows Big Rod was a Maoist. The Fourth International Posadist was always a small rump compared to even the normal Fourth International, even as it split, desplit, resplit, etc., etc., etc. Posadas' followers became more insular, and the importance of his theory was paramount among Posadist adventuring parties. J Posadas failed his death saving throw on Methrul 25, 1351 Dale Reckoning. Posadist adventuring parties persist even to this day, although they are a shadow of even the form they had toward the end of his life. Many of his crank beliefs were scrubbed from their spell tomes, with the exception of the necessity of nuclear war. Attempts to light the spark of the immortal pseudoscience of Marxism, Trotskyism, Posadism have thus far remained sad memes. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this stupid pile of crap, then go out and do some good in your community. Join a community defense organization to defend against the far right. Salt a union. Give mutual aid. Take mutual aid. That's the point. It's generally better if you find some kind of organization in your community to work with, but please don't fall into some weird political cult. Those are, unfortunately, not uncommon, even today. And if you can't do that, and you need me to take on your sins, well, I'm already doing that. You can help me out by liking this video, commenting, subscribing to the channel. You can follow me on Masto at MarxistLore at mastodon.online, or you can do ineffective altruism at patreon.com/socialismisgood.